Good morning. Welcome to Walking Boxing. It is Saturday, November 1st, 2025. Yes, I said November. Geez, each month it just seems to fly past, doesn't it? It just seems like yesterday I was saying, geez, can you believe it's the 1st of October? And here we are, the 1st of November. Not much we can do about it. We've got to move on. The only good thing about, of course, hitting November is that we're only, 6-7 weeks away from Christmas. I love Christmas. Best time of the year. Just obviously means the end of another year, but anyway, yeah, my favourite time of the year, Christmas. And it's about time where you start to get organised with the Christmas decorations, or what do you do anyway? Start to plan what's going to happen for Christmas. But we'll get through this month first anyway, and then obviously the festivities of December. On this day in boxing history, November 1st, what have we got here? I think there was one going back to 1922, and Mickey Walker became the world welterweight champion with a win over Jack Britton by 15-round decision. In 1973, Italian Bruno Akari defended the world super lightweight title, a knockout of Danish fighter Jorgen Hansen in the 5th round. That was in Copenhagen. 2002, Mexico's Oscar Larios knocked out Willie Ajoran in the 1st round in Sacramento, California for the world bantamweight title. 2003, Floyd Money Mayweather defended his world lightweight title with a 7th round knockout of Philip Ndu. I think that's how you pronounce it. That was in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Don't see many fight nights in places like Grand Rapids, Michigan, do you? But obviously Floyd Mayweather's hometown. In 2008, well, we all know this guy, Vic Darchinyan, knocked out Mexico's Christian Majares in the 9th round in Carson, California for the world super flyweight title. He sort of fought a few times there. I saw him, I think I've commented on here a couple of times, I saw him fight back in the day at StubHub Center, I think it was called then, in Carson, California, on the undercard to the Israel Vasquez and Rafael Marquez fight, one of the four. But yeah, he must have fought there a fair bit back in the day. Vic Darchinyan does say Armenian. We've sort of adopted him a little bit as an Aussie, a little bit like Costa Zil, I suppose, an overseas fighter who based himself in Australia, had a great career, and then went home. He lives in Armenia at the moment, does Vic Darchinyan. Last one, 2022, Kenshiro Terashi, who's fighting very soon against Wilibaldo Gomez, or Garcia, I think his name is. He defended his world light flyweight title with a knockout of Hiroto Kayaguchi in the 7th round in Saitama, Japan. So that's what happened on this day in boxing history. Now, talking about making history, I read an article yesterday, I think we touched on it a month or two ago, this new Brawling championship or whatever it is they've launched. A guy from Melbourne, can't remember his name, 36 years of age. This has taken a bit of a punt on a new concept. Well, the funny thing about, I think it's called the International Brawling Championship, I think, IBC or whatever it might be. Obviously, it's like a UFC type of setup. And as I said, 36 years of age, came up with a bit of a concept. And it's not, looking at it, it's not like rocket science. All he's done is pretty much taken the MMA or UFC and just cut out the wrestling and the elbows and the knees and all the rest of it they do, and it just has stand-up fighting, hence the name Brawling. So it's pretty much, I think, as far as I can see, boxing with the UFC gloves on. So it's a bit of a hybrid sport between boxing and UFC. And what are you doing there, Neil? You got yourself buddy caught behind the cricket nets or the footy nets here. Come on, get out of there. Can't take him anywhere. And I think they do 4 2-minute rounds. There is a diamond in the center of the ring. I think it's a ring. It's 5 by 5 meters. I'm not sure how many feet that is. Isn't it funny how in Australia we go by meters, but our rings are in feet? So I can't comprehend. I can sort of see 5 meters, I suppose, but I'm not sure how many. I think, is that 3 feet to a metre or something. I don't know, or 3.5 feet. I don't know, whatever. But it's a 5x5 metre ring, and they've got a diamond in the centre of the ring. And once every round, a fighter can challenge the other fighter to go to centre, well, we'll call it centre ring in the diamond, and just go toe to toe. Now, these are the little things, the quirky little things that I suppose you have to do to get eyeballs on the sport. But the reason I'm mentioning it is because this guy did one show up in Queensland. Wasn't televised. I think they obviously recorded it because it went online. I'm not sure whether it was streamed on the night or they recorded it and uploaded it later. But based on one show, they've got a international broadcasting deal with 14 countries, if you can believe that, on board, and that will grow. That will grow, and obviously Australia, and I think the next show, I think, where did I see it? Hang on, I'll just bring it up here. Amazing stuff for a guy that has just put on one show, and a lot of boxing promoters toil around and for a long time and get nothing. This guy's just got it in one foul swoop. But all right, so this is written by Peter Bedell. Good story, Peter. Doing well here, mate. 14 networks around the world. So now he's put $500,000 of his own $500,000 of his own money in. Just seeing these countries. So the next show on November 28th at Brisbane's Nissan Arena will be screened in Australia, New Zealand, the USA, Israel, the Netherlands, Slovakia, Bulgaria, Pakistan, Kazakhstan, and France. So what's that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So it's going to be televised in 10 countries, but he has signed this 14 country deal. So it's a pretty, or 14 broadcast partners, I should say. So just an amazing accomplishment for a sport that this is this will be the second event. Now the big trump card they've played is they've signed up probably the one guy that was born to do this, and that's the head splitter Isaac Harbin. If anyone was just custom made to be in this sport, it is Isaac Harbin. Now he cut his teeth in MMA for starters, then went over to boxing, but I always thought that he was definitely a lot better suited to sort of MMA or this type of thing, because boxing, because he started in, I suppose, with the kicking and the kneeing and all that sort of stuff, it's really hard for these guys to switch to boxing with the stance and the footwork and all that sort of stuff. It's just, it's not easy. And you see a lot of these MMA guys or martial arts guys who struggle with boxing because of they've started off in a sport or an art where the footwork's all different, and it's very hard to adapt to the boxing style with the stance and the movement and the pivots and all the rest of the twists and turns. So I think it's a really good adaptation for Isaac, and I think it will really suit him. And as I said, if anyone was suited this sport, or it's made for this sport, it is Isaac Harbin. So g'day, how you doing? So he signed a 5-fight deal, I think it was, to be in this IBC. And this guy, actually, I'll just get his name there. I didn't mention his name, did I? Sorry about that. What's his name? Daniel Mack. So he's from Melbourne, and you can see, even just judging by his looks, he's got the bald head and the tats, and looks like he works out a little bit. He's going to be Australia's version of Dana White by the looks of things, but good on him. Good on him. This is, it's amazing stuff that he's been able to do this based on one show, and considering the amount of support that he got for that first show. Isaac Harbin was actually in the crowd the first night they did this, and that's what sort of got him interested in it. I think it's it's ideas like this that become billion-dollar ideas, don't they? Or concepts. I've still been thinking about my concept. I'm not sure I'll ever get to do it, but my idea was the 1 minute rounds, normal boxing, but just with 1 minute rounds. So it's just all go, 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 go. 10 1 minute rounds for normal fights, and 15 1 minute rounds for championship fights, 30 seconds in between. Based a little bit on the 2020 cricket. That was my idea anyway, but I never got around to sort of doing it, and I doubt I'll do it. So if anyone else out there wants to pick it up, then there you go, you got yourself an idea. What else is going on? That's the Australian scene. Not so much happening in the boxing scene, but I just thought I'd mention that because it's an incredible feat to have that happen based off one show, and all it is just saying, all right, well, let's just do UFC without the kicking and the kneeing and all that sort of stuff. So anyway, big month for fights. Starting next weekend, Virgil Ortiz, Erickson Lubin, November 8th. That'll be a ripper. Really looking forward to that fight. Virgil Ortiz, I think, must be his second fight back, I think, or this year. I thought it might have been his third, but I think it's only his second. Erickson Lubin will be a good test for him. Good, solid contender. Has had a couple of losses, though, so I think Virgil Ortiz should win this fight, but it won't be easy. I think it'll be a good we'll call it a tune-up, because he had a couple of really tough back-to-back fights, did Ortiz, with Madrimov and Bolchuk. So this won't be much easier, but it's good to see he's keeping active in that fight with who is it next year? Boots Ennis will hopefully happen early next year. So I've just been distracted a little bit there. Sorry about that. I was just thinking about something else, another thing I've got to mention, and I sort of lost track there. So apologies about that, but that fight should be good. What else have we got on the, 13th? Will be, is it the 13th? No, that's December 13th. I've just got them written here. The 14th will be Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn. I haven't heard too much about that fight. What is it, only 2 weeks away? And the build-up has been, well, in my opinion, very, very low-key. I'm sure it's big news over there in England, but I've just sort of forgot that it's been on. And is this going to reflect the numbers that it does on the night? I'm sure it won't. I'm sure it'll be massive over there. But yeah, as I said, I haven't really heard that much about it. Can Conor Benn turn the tables? I doubt it. I don't think he has got the boxing IQ to be able to make adjustments. I think he said in camp he's going to be more focused on being sort of breaking down Eubank instead of trying to go out there and just bomb him out with one shot. It's good in theory, and it makes sense. It really does. I think that's the way to do it with Eubank, to take your time and cut him off and break him down round by round by round. But I just don't think Conor Benn is smart enough to be able to do that. I don't think he's got a great intellect as far as boxing goes, and that's just the way it is. I mean, he's a slugger, he's a bomber. And that's the way he's got through all his fights, but it's also what brought him undone in the first fight, for not really having the ability to change tact and take a step back and reassess and I suppose gather your thoughts, gather your composure and reset. It was just go the whole fight. So I doubt that he'll be able to turn the tables. I think, look, early in the fight, maybe he might be a little bit more controlled, I suppose, but I think that actually plays into Eubank's hands. I think in the first fight you would have saw that Conor Benn won the first 3 rounds by just being that bulldozer type of fighter, and then once the dust sort of settled and we got into the rhythm of the fight, Eubank sort of took over from there. I think if he doesn't start fast, Eubank could actually take those early rounds, and I think he'll then pull away as the fight goes on, because I just don't think Conor Benn, as I said, has got the IQ or intellect, whatever you might want to call it, to do that for 12 rounds. So that's my pick for that one. Eubank to repeat the dose. Also that weekend, supposedly, is the Jake Paul and Gervonta Tank Davis fight. As I said, yes, I'm still not sure whether that fight happens. Davis has got himself in all sorts of legal trouble again with domestic violence charges that look like they're going to be laid. So there's talk that they were going to pull the fight or use this as an excuse to pull the fight because numbers have been in the toilet and no one really gives a shit about this. And I think it's about time that the fans stood up and said, yeah, we're not going to cop this ongoing from someone like Jake Paul. I just wish with Jake Paul, I don't really want to sort of get too much on him because I refuse to sort of give him airtime. But if he just, I know it's all about milking all the fans out of as much money as he possibly can. I get that. It's sort of a business thing for him. It's a bit of a WWE type of sort of thing for him. But by now, shouldn't he be just fighting some real fighters? Wouldn't he get a lot more respect if he actually took on real fighters instead of actually talking about real fighters? I know we've been talking about this for a long time, but surely it's time. I don't know why he'd be wasting his time with an exhibition against a lightweight. I just don't know what it accomplishes. I mean, the Chavez fight, okay, yep, okay, he's a big name in history. The UFC guys that he's fought, okay, no dramas. They've been big names, albeit in another sport, but at least they're big names and they're his weight, and it sort of makes sense as far as his progress goes up the ranks by having big names, be it from other sports, but at least he's having real fights, I suppose you would call them, and building his record that way. So learning on the job, but at the same time being in big fights, if that makes sense. So instead of blowing out a heap of journeymen and really not achieving too much, he's actually picked big names from the UFC to fight, and even a couple from boxing to fight, but learning his trade without much risk, but also being in those big fights along the way, if that makes sense, especially when it comes to Tyson and those types of guys. So I'm not sure what this particular fight achieves. Achieves nothing, if you ask me, but we'll see if that fight does take place. It's only 2 weeks away, so you never know. And then the last one was Benavides and Yard, the card. Who was it? Mason and Noakes, Haney and Norman, which will be a ripper fight, and Benavides, Bam Rodriguez, sorry, and there was Martinez that he's fighting as well. So they're the cards for November. Off the top of my head anyway, there's probably 1 or 2 that'll pop up as well. I know there was maybe a couple of female fights as well, but just speaking of that, I did see of the females, I saw Chantel Cameron, the English fighter, former world champion. She actually beat Katie Taylor, gave her first professional loss, what was it, 2 or 3 years ago. Taylor avenged the loss. That was in Ireland, both of those fights. Taylor gave up the WBC belt. She didn't want to fight Chantel Cameron. She wanted time out to assess her career. Well, the WBC awarded Chantel Cameron the WBC belt after she was the interim champion. She's actually given the belt up out of protest, and it's because of the WBC stance, and not just the WBC, all the sanctioning body stance on the rounds that they fight. Now at the moment in championship fights, they fight 10 2-minute rounds. And they of course want to fight 12 3-minute rounds. Look, I'm all for the equality type of thing. I get it. The girls, they train hard. They put in just as much as the guys do, and they deserve to be treated fairly, and I get that. But I'm not sure whether the 12 3-minute rounds is the way to go. And look, the only way I can probably explain it is I don't think the average fight fans out there are going to want to watch a 12 by 3-minute round fight. Now, this is not me saying this. I'm just saying it probably on behalf of the majority of fight fans out there, which are, like it or not, male fans. I just don't think, I think they like the fast-paced action of the girls. That's the only way that they will probably consume women's boxing. I know that's not for everyone, so I'm not putting everyone in a box, but that's sort of the feedback I get talking to male boxing fans, I suppose, that they like that. Well, they'll watch the women's boxing, but they like the fact that it's fast, it's furious, and that's probably the only way they'll actually watch it. Whereas if it was the methodical 12 3-minute round fight, I think you would find a lot of them would just say, no, I'm just not gonna probably get on board with these type of fights. Now, that's not me again saying it. That's just what the feedback I get from other fight fans about women's boxing. Now, that's probably not fair on the girls either. They would like to be more patient when they're in the ring. They like to set the fight up a bit more, put their plans into place, or their traps and all that sort of stuff, and I get it. And 12 3-minute rounds would definitely allow them to do that. But I suppose I'm just saying out loud what a lot of people don't really want to say, is that I don't think fans will want to watch a 12 by 3-minute round fight. Now, I might be wrong, correct me. Just don't come at me and call me sexist. I'm just going by what I've been told. Okay, I for one think, for starters, maybe a compromise is to make championship fights 12 2-minute rounds. I think that's a good way to start. So the 10 2-minute rounds at the moment, I do agree, no matter what the round duration is that the championship fights should be 12 rounds, or whether they're 2s or 3s, whatever. But as I said, I think they should start with 2s. 12 2s, that at least starts the ball rolling into the next phase of being 12 3s. So you've got the normal at the fights at the moment, 6, 8, 10s just for normal fights. For 12 round championship fights, just make them 2-minute rounds, 12 2s. Then we can go for the next step from there. From 12 2s, it might go to 12 3s after that. But I just think at the moment, I'm not sure whether the traditional boxing fans are ready for 12 3-minute round fights. Now, don't get me wrong either, by the way. There is a big market for women's boxing, and I'm sure that a lot of them would say, hey, mate, we want 12 3-minute rounds, and that's great, but that's the minority at the moment, not the majority. So that's just what I'm sort of getting at, talking to people in the industry as well, with broadcasters and all that sort of stuff. Geez, I've got myself into there, haven't I? I've got to dig myself out of this. But anyway, I hope you get sort of what I'm trying to say, that let's just take it step by step. It's 10 twos at the moment, make it 12 twos, and then possibly go from there. I'm going to quickly change the subject, to be honest, because I'll get myself into trouble. But no, just a couple of more things as far as fights go. I did see that Richard Torres has called out Moses Otama, which would be a fantastic fight. Not quite sure that they'll take that fight just yet, Otama. They've got other plans. I'm sure Torres has as well. The time will come for those guys, and I suppose you could throw in Justice Hoodie in there as well. Maybe Jaya Pataya, those young tigers that are coming through. Not that Jaya's too young anymore, but he'll be amongst that sort of group, I suppose, in 2 or 3 years' time. Well, hopefully not that long, but we'll see. The other fight I saw, Emmanuel Navarrete and Eduardo Sugar Nunez will meet in March, the 7th of March in Phoenix, for the IBF and WBO super featherweight titles, 130. So that's going to be a ripper fight. Always like watching Navarrete fight. He's all over the place, but geez, the guy's tough and very awkward. And the other one, Raymond Muratalla will defend his world lightweight title, the IBF title, against Andy Cruz, January 24 in Las Vegas. That will probably be on the Manny Pacquiao card, you would probably think, unless he fights Floyd Mayweather, of course, or whoever else he's looking to fight, Vasily Lomachenko, I don't know. But if he does get that world title shot, if it does happen to be Ramiro or probably anyone else, it'll be January 24 in Las Vegas. So you'd think that would be on the same card. But we will see. All right, guys, well, let me have it. I'm sure I'll get some comments about my women's boxing comments, but just be nice. Just trying to be matter of fact, that's all. And anything else that I've mentioned as well. So, guys, have a great Saturday. We'll catch you tomorrow.